Morning, everyone. It's Laura T at Dream Deals 123 on eBay, and I'm the Silver Owl Thrifter on YouTube. Talk about what sold last night, break it down, how much was profit. I'm going to talk about a little more real estate at the end, and maybe some other stuff. I made $50 overnight, sold 2 items. I sold this. Not ready. Yes, I'm almost ready. I'm having some trouble with my eBay site. I can't go to active listings or do anything. It's completely frozen up. It has been for weeks. Called them and they said they'd look into it, but I don't know what it is, because it's happening on 2 of our computers, so I don't think it's a computer, but I can do everything on my app. But I don't like the little tiny app. I can hardly see anything. I don't like doing app stuff. I like doing computer stuff. I like the computer keyboard. I'm not one of those people who can do that. It takes too long. Okay. Poor me. I'm glad I can do it on the app, though. The way I figured it out was you go to because you got to get to Seller Hub, and it's not kind of obvious. So you go to help, put in Seller Hub, and then Seller Hub comes up, and then I can do everything I need. Okay, I sold this. The North Face, and it's a Jacquardian cardigan. Cardigan is when it buttons up in the front versus pullover. Cardigan sweater, gray, size extra small sweater. Fair Isle shawl collar wool. So this is Fair Isle is kind of that, I don't know, snowflakey Nordic look, Christmassy, winter, and this is a shawl collar. It kind of goes down and around. So that's pretty popular right now, and some cute buttons. And that sold for $28, and I made $10 on that. I paid $5, I paid up for it. It's gonna probably be $8 in shipping, something like that, and the fees. So, and then I sold this Garnet Hill, another good, both of these are good bread and butter bolo-ish brands. I don't find a lot of Garnet Hill. It usually sells, but this had been sitting for a while, and took an offer, a low offer. I sold it. It's a Garnet Hill long maxi boho hippie festive black crinkle pleated lined skirt, size 8. Sold for $22, made $10 on that. I paid $4. So I only made $20 profit on $50 in sales, but that includes the shipping. So probably 15 of that was shipping. Yeah. So I made 8,458 gross this year, and I made 4,243 net. Now, I haven't hardly been listing anything lately, and I really think it makes a difference with the algorithm or whatever, or just the fact that I'm not listing new stuff, and the other stuff's just stuff that's been there a while. So it's hard not to go out and thrift. Yesterday I almost went up. I was like, no, I gotta get the place organized. I only have, maybe 365 days or so, about a year's worth of days, and I have a lot more than 365 days of work to do. So anyways, we was talking a little bit about real estate yesterday, and I'll tell you a little bit about our journey into real estate if you're interested. That's what I'm going to talk about. If not, that's cool, but I figure we're all kind of entrepreneurial people here. And we, about 25 years ago, okay, this is a long story, so get a cup of coffee. And well, out of college, my husband got a job at Radio Liberty in Munich, Germany. And it was kind of like Radio Free Europe, if any of you remember that. Just sort of a U.S. governmental agency that broadcast into communist countries and countries that, might need to hear about freedom and everything. This is how we communicated years ago, people. There's no internet. It's amazing, the changes. And that job lasted about a year. We thought it was going to be a long-term, like 5 to 10 year job, but the Cold War ended, and when the Cold War ended, people like my husband, who sort of that was their field, they there was a huge problem in them finding jobs because everything that he had studied for and learned and thought was going to be important in the future was suddenly not important. And they were focusing on other things. They're like, yeah, the wall's coming down. Again, it was great. It was really great that the wall came down and everything. But my husband felt that they still needed to keep people, whatever, that's another subject. But so we moved back and we moved to DC, and he applied at lots of government places, but nobody was hiring. Everybody was laying off. The jobs were all gone. And we really tried to make it here in DC. But he did get a job at like a freight forwarding company, but it wasn't paying very well, and it's so expensive here. But he had applications in, especially at this one place he really wanted to work, but it's the type of place where it takes a long time to get hired or them to go through processes. And anyways, long story short, we decided we could not afford living here, so we decided to move back to Indiana, where he went to school, and there was another freight forwarding job that he got there. So we basically moved back to Indianapolis area, where he was making about the same, but the cost of living was so much less. And we bought a house, and it was our first house. We didn't have any idea what we were doing house buying wise, so we bought the worst house in the world in a bad location, and it was a nightmare. But however, we were thinking when we bought it, okay, I shouldn't have said it was a nightmare quite yet, because when we bought it with the expectation that we were going to live there a long time and fix it up and do all these things. It was still a really bad location, though, I have to say. Right next to the railroad tracks. Don't buy trains next to the railroad tracks. People don't like it. And I like the sound of a train, but I guess that's a thing, railroad tracks. So we bought the house with the thought that we were going to stay there and fix it up. And we were there for a little bit, a few weeks. We started fixing it up. And then he gets a call from the government job that he really wanted, basically his dream job. And we took it. We like, yes. And they're like, yeah, we need you right away. So we put the house on the market, and it was also it was really bad economy. Selling houses was very hard, and especially selling a house like this that we probably overpaid for. So we definitely overpaid for it. And well, it was one of those situations where, anyways, let's not talk about that. But so we tried to sell it and we couldn't. And our real estate agent said, well, I'll manage it for you and we'll rent it out. We didn't really know anything about being landlords, although real estate had been in my family, and I'll talk about that for a while, and my mom and stuff, but we didn't have any experience. So we're like, oh, she'll manage it. That's not a problem. We'll move away and everything will be fine, and the people can pay the rent. And that did go fine for about a year. And then something happened. I don't know what happened to the people. It seems like from what neighbors were saying that possibly there was that the man hurt his back at work, couldn't get work, got hooked on Oxycontin or something like that. They said it was horrible. They weren't taking their garbage out. There were rats crawling all over the place. I mean, it was a nightmare. They had they stopped paying the rent, and they just kept living there. And we finally got them out. But when we went there, my real estate agent brought her cleaning lady with her to, tidy the place up after the people left. And the lady would not. She like went to the door, opened it, and she like looked in and she took a smell and she said, I'm not going in there. We had to get like an industrial, like hazmat type crew in there for thousands of dollars to go in. They had just, you know how people sometimes when they get evicted, they are destructive. And I think that's what happened, because there was just unbelievable things in the rooms. Horrible. Anyways, we got that cleaned up, and we vowed never to be well. Okay, and then we got it cleaned up, and we decided we don't want to do this long distance. We don't want to do landlording anymore. This is horrible. This is terrible. And other things were going wrong, like the well. Anyway, so then they moved out, and there was so much wrong with the house that it was like $10,000 maybe to get it livable again, and then. We decided we would just sell it. We didn't want to go through with that. So, nobody would buy. Months and months and months, and we're going by. In the meanwhile, we still are paying the mortgage. We don't have a tenant in there. And even though we had moved back here and we're making better money, it wasn't enough to support two mortgages like this. So, so finally, we got an offer way under. We had to basically bring money to the table because it wasn't covering what we had paid for it, but we did it. We wanted to just be done with it, and I'm glad we did. It was a big relief. So after that, we were thinking, never again, never do landlording again. But okay, years went by, and my mom had a stroke, and when I went up to Canada, 'cause she was in Canada, she had a stroke, she passed away, and when we went up to Canada to help my sisters get everything ready to sell her home, I came across these letters that my great-great-grandfather had written. And he had written them from a sanatorium, a tuberculosis sanatorium in Calgary, Alberta, in about the 1920s, I guess. And it was when he had tuberculosis. Now, he had been a builder, and he had all these real estate endeavors going on when he got sick. So he went into the hospital, and the letters were all written to my great-great-grandmother, Mabel, who was left behind to take care of everything with her 5 children, heading into the Depression. And I just read these letters, and he was so full of just love and joy and good spirits and optimism, and both of them were. It was just wonderful to read these letters, and I was like, man, if he can do this from that situation, maybe, and I just kind of got this overwhelming sense of remembering how all that real estate had saved my grandma Mabel from probably poverty, because she had that to help bring an income, and she used that, and it helped my grandmother, because it all went to her, and then it helped my mother when she got a divorce. Real estate really helped my mother really make quite a bit of money, and even though she was like working at Sears, because real estate is just a great way to make money if you can handle everything, and you have to do it right, and you have to do it smart. So we decided that we would and then my husband, he had these overseas deployment type things with his work, and he would get a bonus, and it was enough to do like a down payment on a house or a small condo or something like that. And so every time he did a deployment, we would see if we could do a little down payment. And we found these, the thing with real estate, location, it really is. And when my girls were going to college, they were staying in condos, and we were like, these are really nice, and they were really hard to get into, and we were like, we should buy one of these and do rentals here, and my realtor was like, oh, they never come on the market. But every time one came on the market, we would just get in there and snatch it up, and it just so happened it coincided with kind of these little bonuses we would get over the years. And even though we were in Maryland and these were in Virginia, we found a really good property management company, and they take a little bit of the a percentage of the rent, and then they take care of anything that happens. So basically, we hardly ever even hear about it, except when something goes wrong, of course. But not a lot has gone wrong with them over the years. So it's been pretty good, because we decided too, we would try not to buy old rundown houses that need lots of fixing up. We would get newer, and condos are much easier as far as our end is, because we do pay a condo fee, but that takes care of like all the roof And sorry if this is getting really long. I do like talking about real estate. Start a real estate channel, Laura. Well, maybe I will. But so anyways, yeah, we bought a lot better properties that were sure to, and I know also if we ever got in a position where we needed to sell them fast, they would sell very fast. One just went on the market a few months ago, and it was snapped up at a, almost like double what we paid for our first one. So that's the beauty of real estate. You can, the equity in the house can increase, or the value of the house can increase. So, you put maybe 20,000 down, but that 20,000 earns you 80,000 in a matter of 5 years, if you do it right. And then, of course, you've got to take into consideration that you got to have expenses. Okay, that's enough. So anyways, but I thought you would appreciate the story about, I have a picture of my great-grandfather, David Patterson. He's like my hero. Yeah, what about you guys? You got any stories like that where some ancestor did something to really encourage you? I think it's really interesting to see what happened. I got into a big thing on the history of our family, found out I think one of my great-great-great-great-great-grandparents was in a workhouse in England, like of the Charles Dickens kind. So I thought that was interesting. And then as soon as he got out of the workhouse, he brought his family over to Canada. Fascinating. All right, I think I've said enough. Talked enough. All right, have a great day. See you tomorrow. Like and subscribe. Comment. I love your comments. They're so encouraging. Bye.